Cole Custer, 300 to 1, 0.3 of a unit. Bet 365. Giddy up, boys. This just feels like a disrespectful line for Cole Custer, aka Colonel Custer.
Colonel
Two-time,
Custer. That's a
two,
new one, I feel like. You might
two-time.
take that one with that. You better watch out.
Hey, that's all right. You heard it here first, Cole. Two-time almost two-time Xfinity Series champion. Probably should have been if Justin Allgaier didn't have the drive of his life this
Go
past.
Gator, baby. Go Gator
Yeah,
from the coin.
yeah, no. Shout out to him for that. And also, like, we can't forget, Cole Custer did win a NASCAR Cup Series race. There was Kentucky 2020, a little bit fluky, I have to admit that,
Well,
but
you may say it was fluky, but that late race restart, it wasn't that he got up on strategy or something.
yeah,
He had the drive of his life there on a Greenway. I think it was an overtime or a late race
yeah.
restart. He earned the fuck out of that win at Kentucky. Don't get it wrong.
Yeah. And he did get one full-time season in the next gen before going back to Xfinity. I think that's what kind of people forget. Like, oh, he's been in Xfinity for a while. That was 2022. That's not that long ago. That year, Elliot, he had an average finish of 20.6. That's better than a lot of the bottom feeders we're seeing now in the series. Who, especially some of the ones even now that have like way longer odds or way shorter odds than him at this point. Last year, his average finish, his last year in Cup, would have been better than Todd Gilliland's and Ryan Preece's, and it wouldn't have been far from Austin Cindric, Chase Briscoe as well, who both made it to the round of 8. So, like, you could maybe get, if Cole Custer can punch his way into the playoffs here, I get it's a new team, but Joe Custer's still calling the shots there, his dad. Cole has been in this organization full time since 2017 in some shape or fashion, whether that was Xfinity or Cup. Also, it's not like this team does not have a huge fucking notebook of data for running 4 full-time cars in all 3 years of the next gen era. The lead engineer of Chris Buescher's team, Aaron Kramer, he's going to be on top of the pit box this year. He was part of Buescher's very meteoric rise at RFK. Custer is kind of a similar driver to Buescher in my opinion, like good on the concrete tracks, good on road courses, can mix it up at the short tracks here and there as well. I just think he's going to be a threat to win at places like Indy, where he had a top 5 in his one Cup start there. He also almost won in the Xfinity race. His teammate Riley Herbst, another SHR car, won there. Also Dover, we're going to be potentially, hopefully, hitting up Dover this year. He's someone we can maybe be looking at. He's had top 10s in 2 of his Cup races there. Also, he's been good there in the Xfinity. He has an average finish of 5.5. It's one of his best tracks in Xfinity. So I just think he's a guy who maybe could sneak out a win before we get to the playoffs. So I think 300 to 1, you get this. Even if it doesn't have a win, I think maybe by mid-season, if he's a top 23-ish car, I think the books are dancing a little bit. I think you're maybe taking a cash out and you're going home early.
Yeah, I will agree with you. This is a disrespectful line compared to some of these guys. Like for Justin Haley to be that far ahead of Cole Custer and some of these other guys too. Like Custer,
Right?
I think that line was like 3rd or 4th from bottom on the entire odds board.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
That was, and I agree with you too that Custer's a talented driver, deserves to be in the Cup Series. Did things the right way. Did what he had to do. The Cup thing didn't work out. They gave Preece a shot in that 41, bumped him back to Xfinity. All he did was dominate and win the title, and then run super consistently and run second for the title in 2 years of Xfinity. Definitely a guy who is good to be back in Cup. And they do still have a full notebook, 3 full years in the next gen with 4 full-time cars. What they don't have is a lot of those people. That is good to know the crew chief. I didn't know they had already made a pick there. And a guy from coming in from outside of the previous regime, we'll call it too, now that Tony is no longer involved there, and a lot of those guys aren't. But this team for a title, I mean, you're really banking on that cash out and hoping that he's able to pull off a win, which Stewart-Haas Racing was only able to do once last year at the death, basically the regular season.
Yeah.
Chase Briscoe getting that one at Darlington. He was 14th in points. The other full-time cars between them, 24th, 26th, and 27th in the standings. Only 6 top 5s between them and 15 or 16 top 10s between them, between 3 other cars for the whole year. So, I mean, that's Stewart-Haas Racing. Haas factory team, slightly different entity.
Haas Racing, baby.
Yeah. Slightly different entity there for Haas factory team. Obviously, different people coming in the door. They're only having to worry about 1 team now instead of 4. And the expectations, I don't know if the expectations are 0. Clearly, the books think the expectations are 0 for Haas factory team. But It's an intriguing situation, but not one that I think you should put a lot on. But you're right, a little sprinkle for a guy who's won before in the Cup Series. It is not an abysmal driver, and equipment that we're not expecting to be abysmal. I mean, Haas in some other racing series has not really looked at to be very strong. They could be strong enough here, though, to get in the playoffs. And my God, if he's able to win and get in the playoffs, and you have a 300-1 ticket on some guy who might be able to squeak out a title or even give you that cash out, I agree. It's certainly worth a look at that just ridiculously long number.
If I'm going to ride a bet out for 12 months, it's going to be a 300-1, baby.
May as well be a big dog.
Yeah.
Go big or go home.